All right, guys, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, and Tuesday the 14th, by the way. So let's go over the S&P chart. I'm going to talk fast because I have to give a webinar just shortly on another subject. So it's going to be a short video, but we've got some things to talk about today. So S&P had a nice up day, up 50 basis points. The Qs were up 60. IWM continues to be the outperformer. We'll look at these charts really quickly. The one thing that I noticed on S&P futures, we were, it's a nice day, nice progress. So I don't want to talk negatively about, us bouncing 50 basis points, but we basically got to where we were yesterday. Notice this is, if you're not familiar with my charts, that's the bottom of value. So this is on a 1 hour chart, which will give us the value area for the whole week. Notice we have not been able to completely turn the corner. Again, we tried to do this. So again, very good level to keep an eye out for. And this may be something, if you don't have this study on your chart, maybe something for you to pay attention to. And I don't talk about selling this indicator, but I do have it on the website. It's for sale. You can send me an email or hit me on Twitter, and I'm happy to give you a discount code for it. But you can see that we've been trying to get into value, and it's a really good sticking point. Remember yesterday we just kind of turned on a dime, like a receiver making a cut. We did that yesterday, and today not able to get into the value area. But again, S&P has has a lot of things going on inside of it. Some sectors up, some sectors down. You get more of a pure signal if you look at the Qs. Qs did trade into value for the day, close to yesterday's highs. We bring this up on a daily chart. We could see that we are pushing towards another breakout in the Qs. Same thing with IWM, the small cap ETF. Again, these have been looking not exactly the same, but this has been where the strength has been in the market, in the small caps, in the Qs, not so much in SPYs. There's too many sectors that are having cross winds, I would call them, for S&P to be breaking out right now. And again, if you look at VTI, which is all equities, you could see I think we're almost back to that 52-week high. So a couple stories for the day, and then I'll go over today's option activity very quickly. But retail, this was something that we had talked about in, pretty amazing when you think about it. So how is this happening, right? So how is retail going up like this? This was one of the things that I thought about this weekend when I write the Tribeca Trade Group newsletter. This is what I sent out. So I'm not going to give you the I flagged it, but this was something that I was looking at. I thought that there was some nice strength in the retail sector in the XRT before it broke out. And I mentioned a couple names, and again, not every name that I've mentioned here has worked out yet or has moved yet. Wayfair, Lulu, they have not really responded yet, but the Restoration Hardware was a nice move. Expedia is moving very nicely too. So so why is this? What's happening here? Why is retail breaking out? I mean, I think it's just people are spending more. If you forget about, are people going to the malls, and if are people, what their habits are, but I think people are just spending. We had a data point that got lost today was, let's see if I can bring this up really quickly. A data point that got lost today was the small business optimism. So again, it's a little bit different than the consumer, but kind of has a little bit of the same feel for it. Like I said, I'm having difficulty bringing this up. Yeah, so the NFIB, Small Business Optimism, was a 107.90. So this is really strong, and this is, again, doesn't get much attention. People want to talk about Turkey all day long, which really doesn't have much effect on us, let's be honest here. But if you look at the maximum chart, you can see we're pushing back towards the 1983 highs in terms of business optimism, right? So this is, a lot of times we focus on the negative because that's what we hear all day long on financial media, but small business optimism making another new high, multi-year high, that's not bearish. That's a good thing. All right. So that's good. Retail breaking out. It shows the consumer spending. There was a lot of calls that were going up in the retail space. This is basically how option activity works. Everybody notices something starts to go up and people buy different things. So there was a nice this is again same area. So I like to look for these things, and get involved in these names before we see the call buying. Half the time when we see the call buying, it's too late. they're just playing momentum. So the sooner that you realize that half the time that the option activity is kind of crappy. There are some really good, trades that come out of option activity, and I point them out when I see them. The EA was one. When they're going out and buying after earnings, like they did in a couple names. Expedia was one where they were buying like crazy about a week ago. So those are good things. But when they just chase, chasing momentum, like unless you're going to buy it like at somewhat in the morning and sell it at the end of the day, it's not really a swing trade alert. It's just somebody who's just pushing something, going from up 1.5% to trying to get it to up 2% for the day. So anyway, this was a blockbuster trade that we hit at the on the open STZ. This worked really well. I bought. I didn't do what they did, which was buy call spreads. I just went right into calls because I like this name, and I like this name on option activity. So I actually bought this right here. I missed the first green bar where that went up, but I bought it right into here, and this was a monster trade for the room today. So congratulations if you hit that trade with us. Sometimes I don't attribute this to being good. It's just spotting some things. You get a little bit lucky. That's all. It's nothing. Like we accomplished a major feat. We know that this name is good on option activity. It's been a kind of beaten up name in this space. And once they start buying all kinds of spreads, here's what they did in this name too. So it kind of seems a bit obvious to me. There was first October calls, then January calls that went up, and you could see how we got a hold of this too in Slack as well. We have a system called the Option Axe that we use. So you could see that if I bring this up, right? Here are some of the spreads that went up. October, January, just all over the place, all call spreads that they mainly did in this. And you can see what I did today. I took a little bit of a dinger on this one, YY today. I bought 100 shares. I'm going to get to the Chinese internet names in just a second. But I also took off this for the majority of this position in Restoration Hardware. This is a name that I've been talking about the last week. And again, using going back to the indicator that I use on my charts. I mean, look at this thing right up to this VPOC, and this is not after the fact stuff. I've been talking about this now for weeks, not weeks, maybe about a week. Once we got outside of value, which is right where I put this trade on, so right up to the VPOC, so perfect. Outside of value is usually my trigger, and then looking for where a lot of volume happened previously. So now is where you want to take. For me, that's where I want to take targets now in Restoration Hardware. So again, tons of retail stuff going on the tape. What has me a little bit worried, and I talked about this yesterday, these risks don't abate, but the Chinese internet names, right? And I see people talking about one by one. Oh my God, this one looks bad. And it's the whole group. I always find it funny when people talk about one particular name, either a JD or a Baba or, whatever. There's 20 different Chinese internets. They're all doing it. I mean, it's kind of rare for this to be down so much, but man, this is really getting hit. So the Chinese internet, and this does concern me. If you look at this with a couple different charts, this is KWeb versus FDN. If you're not familiar with the FDN ETF, it's U.S. internet names. So look at what this is doing right now. Again, this is overlaid Chinese internets with U.S. internet. So it does have me concerned that one area, I mean, is China really slowing down that badly? So, the best thing I could say is that the global picture is not rosy, and manage your risk accordingly. I actually bought some Q puts today when I saw that this was going down over 4% today, because I think there has to be some, again, and I shouldn't say that, there doesn't have to be some spillover, but I'm surprised that the Qs were up, 60 basis points when a whole group of internet stocks, which again is mostly in China, but we do a lot of business. A lot of the multinational corporations in the U.S. do business all over the globe. So if this is breaking down like this, it has me a bit worried. And when I am worried, I don't put on as many new trades, and I kind of act accordingly and act a little bit more conservative. So a lot of things going on today. Besides, retail, which crushed it today. XRT up 2.3%. Again, mentioned in the weekend newsletter. There's some other areas that are perking up as well. I'm looking at the industrials. The industrials didn't close on the highs, but notice we've kind of come in here after some big outperformance a couple weeks ago, and now we're moving back in here. The healthcare space also looks interesting. The banks caught a bid today. The home builders bought a little bit of caught a little bit of a bid after getting pummeled yesterday. So there are some other sectors that are starting to look a bit interesting. Take a look at the healthcare equipment. I like this chart. I'm in this name, or I'm in this ETF. This is healthcare equipment XHE. Nice little pop here. And then also, if you look at things like IHF, which has been really strong. If you're not familiar with this ETF, this is healthcare providers. Look at this thing break out. I don't see very many people talking about this, but a lot of inflows back here. And I talked about that about a week ago, how there was a bunch of inflows into the healthcare providers. And I think there was one other group that I wanted to, and even small cap healthcare, which has been the best performer year to date. Also looks like it's trying to touch 52-week highs. So a lot of good things going on. There is some concern. Not everything is rainbows and butterflies. I would really pay attention to this Chinese internet group, and I would pay attention to what China does overnight too. Remember, the Chinese internet names are going to be conditioned into what happens in China every night. So, if the Hang Seng and the Shanghai go down every night, the Chinese internets can't go up. So just keep in mind, some of these things to watch are what overnight markets do. So thanks for watching today's video. Have a great night and see you tomorrow.